Okay, even though the collision is working and the apple is actually reflecting when it gets to the wall, this isn't exactly looking right. Because as you can see, when I hit the bottom here, it should be a game over because this is a not allowed movement. So what we need to do is to detect when the apple actually hits this place and don't allow it, right? So not the only way, but the best way we can do this is by checking which normal the apple is colliding against. So if we take a look here, I drew in red the normals that are not allowed. So when I hit one of those normals, it means that this is a game over. As you can see, there is a normal pointing up for this edge of the collider. That's the bottom part. And there are those 3 normals here for the platform. So what you can see here is that for the collider, only the normal 0, 1 causes a game over, and for the platform, only the normal 0, 1 is allowed. So we can use that onCollisionEnter2D function to check against which game object we are colliding with, and to check if that game object contains any of these components. Because if it contains the collider component, the collider creator component, it means that if the normal is this one, that's game over. But if we're colliding against the platform and it is anything other than this normal here, it also means a game over. So let's go back to Unity here, and we're going to be editing the Apple script. I don't know if I mentioned previously, but the onCollisionEnter2D only works if one of the 2 colliders has a rigid body attached to it. So for instance, in our case, the apple has a rigid body 2D, even though there's no gravity acting. It doesn't matter. It only needs to have this component attached to it. So both need to have a collider, of course, and at least one of the elements need to have a rigid body. So in case I occasionally disable this rigid body 2D, this function wouldn't get called because none of the 2 elements have a rigid body 2D. And inside this function, what I need to do is I need to try to grab a reference for either the collision creator or the platform, and I can check if they are null. What we need to do first, before we do any reflections, we need to try to get a reference for the collision creator and the platform. So I'm going to try to get a reference for the actually collider creator, I think. Here it is. So I'm going to call it collider creator with an lowercase c. And this is going to be equal to, we're going to grab a component from the object that's colliding with us, with the apple. So to do that, we need to go to collider, which has all the information with regards to the collision dot game object, and this is the game object that's colliding with the apple, and we want to check if this object has a component of type collider creator. We also need to do this with the platform. Collider dot game object dot get component angle brackets platform. There you go. So let's also hold a reference for the normal here, because we would need to grab this normal to verify a few things. So I'm gonna actually put the normal into a local variable, and as you can see here, a normal is a vector 2. So I'm gonna create a local variable of type vector 2, call it normal, and then I'm gonna say the normal is equal to collider dot contexts of index 0 dot normal. There you go. Now we have a reference for the normal and for the possible 2 other components that we may be colliding against. So if the collider creator is different than null, and what does that mean? If we try to get a component from this collider and and it actually turns out to be something that's not null, which means that we grab something, it means that we are colliding against the collider creator, or the game object that holds this collider creator component. So it must mean that we're colliding against the screen collider game object, right? And if we're colliding against the screen collider component, it means that the normal must be something other than the 0, 1 vector. So in case normal is equal to vector3, vector2.up, and that's basically short for writing 0, 1, this means we have a game over because we collided with a normal that we shouldn't. So in case the collider creator is null, it means that we aren't hitting the screen collider game object. So we're gonna try the platform. We are never gonna collide with the collider creator and the platform at the same time. So we're good to go with an else if statement here. So in this case, the normal must be something other than the vector2.up in order for us to have a game over. So if normal different than vector2.up, this means we have a game over. Another thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a local bool that's going to hold a value for is game over. When I get into this function, is game over is false because we didn't check the collisions yet. But in case I get inside this if, it means that I'm colliding with something that I shouldn't be colliding with. In this case is the normal of the collider creator, which is that bottom part of our scenario. So in this case, is game over must be true. And we're going to use this local variable afterwards to check whether we should go to a game over screen or if we should change the direction of the movement. And this case is also game over because we're not colliding with that top part of our platform. And after we do these verifications for not allowed collisions, we can easily check for if is game over, and if it is, we're gonna do something like this is game over, okay? For now it's gonna be only a comment. But if it's not, we can just reflect the direction of the movement and keep playing. Okay, so there's not a good way for us to see if this is working or not, because if we have a game over, there's nothing we are doing so far. So in this case, we can just reload the same scene we're playing. As you can see here, in the assets folder, I have a scene called game. So in case I get a game over, I'm just going to reload the game scene. So basically I'm going to start over. And to do this, to load a level, to load a scene, you just go to the application class, and then you go to the load level function, and you pass in a string, which is the name of the level. In my case, my scene is named game, so I just type in game. So you're going to type in whatever the name of your scene is, or whatever scene you want to go to. In my case, I just want to start the same scene over and over again, so I'm going to pass in game. So whenever I hit something that I should not, I'm going to be loading this in again, okay? This is just a way for us to see if we're colliding with something that's not allowed or not. So just a way for feedbacking for now, but we're going to change this for a game over screen later. And if we go back to Unity and if I hit play, let's try the bottom of our scenario first. Boom, game over. Let's now try to get, this is going to be hard. I'm going to try to get the side part of my platform. Okay, so first of all, I need to increase the limits. So if I click on my leaves brush here, I'm going to press W to grab the movement tools. And if I try to move it to the limits of our scenario, we can see that the X value is now 5.2. So I must change the limit on X to 5.2. Just gonna reset the X value. I'm gonna play it again. Now I'm gonna try to grab this side part. There we go. I think I got it, and it was also game over, so this is working perfectly. Of course, the only way for feedback now is to reload the same scene again, but in future lectures we're gonna create a game over menu that's actually gonna tell us how good we did. So before we end this lecture, I'm gonna click on File and save my scene, just because, and I see you in the next video.